It started with a whisper, the kind of whisper that sweeps through Nashville before anyone even knows what's really going on. For years, the story of Blake Shelton and Miranda Lambert was supposed to be over. Their breakup had been one of country music's most painful public sagas, leaving behind songs, scars, and silence. But then out of nowhere they were spotted again, together in the same room at the same event. At first, no one believed it. Fans thought it had to be a coincidence or a rumor blown out of proportion, yet insiders began to confirm what seemed impossible. Blake and Miranda had come face to face for the first time in years. The energy between them, by all accounts, was electric, not romantic, but unmistakably emotional. But just when the internet started to spiral into speculation and fan theories, another name entered the picture, one no one saw coming. Taylor Swift. Known for her emotional wisdom and her uncanny ability to navigate heartbreak under the public eye, Taylor reportedly reached out to both of them after hearing what happened that night. What she said wasn't harsh or dramatic. It was heartfelt, honest, and, as it turns out, exactly what they needed to hear. And as whispers turned into headlines, what began as a quiet Nashville evening soon became one of the most talked-about moments in country music. Because when Taylor Swift steps in to deliver a message, people listen, and this time her words might have changed everything. It wasn't a red carpet moment or a grand awards show appearance that brought Blake Shelton and Miranda Lambert back together. It was something much quieter. A private Nashville industry event, tucked away from cameras, where only the closest names in country music had gathered. No one expected the two exes to show up, let alone in the same room. But fate, or perhaps coincidence, had other plans. When Blake arrived, insiders say the mood was relaxed, laughter, music, the hum of old friends catching up. That all changed when Miranda walked in. The air shifted. Conversations dimmed. Those who saw it unfold said it was like watching two worlds collide, not with anger, but with unspoken history. For years, fans thought the story of Blake and Miranda had been written and closed. Their 2015 divorce wasn't just a breakup, it was a cultural event. Country fans picked sides, the media spun narratives, and both singers turned their heartbreak into chart-topping songs. Blake moved on with Gwen Stefani, while Miranda rebuilt her peace and her purpose through raw, emotional songwriting. Their lives seemed permanently separate, until that night. Witnesses described the moment they saw each other again as charged. Not romantic, not cold, just deeply human. One insider recalled, when they locked eyes, the whole room felt it. They talked like people who still had unfinished business. No one knew what was said, but it was clear something long buried had surfaced again. It wasn't long before whispers started spreading through Nashville's tight-knit circles. Blake and Miranda talked. One producer texted another, "Something's up." Within hours, the story had jumped from private gossip to public speculation, social media lighting up with theories, old photos, and questions no one could answer. But while fans debated whether the exes were rekindling old feelings, someone else had already taken notice. Someone who knew both of them and knew how quickly a quiet reunion could turn into a storm. And that someone was Taylor Swift. To the outside world, Taylor Swift might seem far removed from Blake and Miranda's country circle, but Nashville insiders know better. Before Taylor was a pop powerhouse, she was a country girl at heart, one who crossed paths with both of them countless times through performances, writing sessions, and mutual friends. She shared a genuine respect for their talent and their history. So when Taylor heard the buzz about Blake and Miranda reconnecting, she didn't scroll past the headlines like everyone else. She reached out. Not for gossip, not for attention, but out of genuine concern. According to an insider close to her team, Taylor privately contacted both of them soon after the story broke. Her message was calm but clear. She warned them that revisiting the past could easily open wounds that were better left healed. "Closure isn't always about rekindling," she reportedly told them. "Sometimes it's about letting go gracefully." It wasn't advice from a place of judgment, it was wisdom from experience. Taylor has lived her own version of public heartbreak. She's written songs about the ache of nostalgia and the danger of slipping back into something that once burned too deeply. She knows what it's like to face an ex not with anger, but with curiosity, and how tempting it can be to confuse old emotions with new beginnings. Her words, according to one source, hit both of them harder than anyone expected. Taylor told them she'd seen this story play out too many times, the insider said. She didn't want to see either of them caught in that same cycle again. And while Taylor's advice might have seemed simple on the surface, it carried a weight only those who've truly been through heartbreak could understand. But Taylor's message wasn't just for Blake and Miranda. It set off a ripple through Nashville. Because soon everyone wanted to know, what did Taylor Swift say to them, and why? For Blake Shelton, that unexpected meeting with Miranda Lambert wasn't just a passing moment. It was a jolt from the past. For years, he'd built a new chapter with Gwen Stefani, grounded in trust, quiet love, and maturity, far from the chaos of his earlier fame. Life on his Oklahoma ranch had become peaceful, predictable, and safe. But seeing Miranda again stirred something deep within him, a reminder of a life that once burned hot and fast, a love that had shaped him in ways he never fully faced. According to those close to him, Blake didn't expect to feel anything when he saw her. But when Miranda smiled, the memories flooded back. The laughter, the fights, the songs they wrote, the love that once seemed indestructible. He was caught off guard, a friend revealed. It wasn't about wanting her back. It was about realizing how much they'd both changed. In private, Blake reportedly admitted that their conversation felt unfinished, not romantic, but emotional. It wasn't closure. It was a reminder that closure had never truly come. For years he had buried those feelings under new happiness, but that night forced him to confront them head-on. Still, Blake wasn't naive. He knew the risks. Any interaction with Miranda could easily spiral into media frenzy, misinterpretation, and headlines that might hurt Gwen. And that's where Taylor Swift's message hit hardest. Her words about letting go gracefully echoed in his mind for days. Blake understood what she meant, that sometimes revisiting the past doesn't heal you. It reopens the wound. An insider close to Blake explained, he wants peace, not passion. He's not trying to start anything again with Miranda. He just doesn't want to carry that weight anymore. Taylor's timing couldn't have been better. Her calm reminder helped Blake recognize that seeking closure didn't mean rekindling anything. It meant finally making peace with a chapter that had defined his career and his heart for years. But while Blake was finding balance between nostalgia and responsibility, Miranda Lambert was going through a storm of her own. And what she felt, and how she handled it, showed a different kind of strength entirely. For Miranda Lambert, the night of that reunion hit differently. She's never been one to hide her emotions, especially when it comes to her music. Her songs have always been her diary, confessions wrapped in melody, heartbreak told through harmony. After her divorce from Blake, she turned pain into poetry, finding healing through raw honesty that resonated with millions of fans. So when she suddenly found herself face to face with Blake again, it wasn't anger that surfaced, it was reflection. Years of distance, maturity, and growth came crashing together in one fragile moment. As one of her close friends put it, Miranda didn't expect it, but she handled it with grace. She said, it wasn't supposed to happen, but maybe it needed to. Later, when Taylor Swift reached out, Miranda didn't take it as interference. She took it as compassion. The two share a quiet respect. Both women have lived through the glare of public heartbreak. Both have rebuilt themselves from the ashes of media scrutiny. So when Taylor told her, "You've healed so much. Don't let an old flame reignite the fire that once burned you," Miranda listened. Sources close to her said the words stayed with her. In a candid Nashville radio interview a few weeks later, Miranda spoke about forgiveness, saying, "Sometimes you don't realize how much you've carried until you finally set it down." Fans didn't know it then, but that sentiment was born from that very night, and from Taylor's heartfelt warning. Miranda's growth wasn't about forgetting Blake, but about honoring the journey that heartbreak had taken her on. She had found peace in the pain, and Taylor's words reminded her not to trade that peace for nostalgia. But while both Blake and Miranda quietly processed what happened, the outside world had already caught wind of the story, and the internet was about to explode. When whispers of Blake Shelton and Miranda Lambert's unexpected reunion began circulating, it didn't take long for the internet to catch fire. Within hours, hashtags like Doubt Blake and Miranda, the Nashville reunion and Jut Taylor warned them were trending across X, formerly Twitter, and TikTok. Fans were divided, some hopeful, some skeptical, and others outright emotional. Country music lovers who had lived through their 2015 breakup flooded social media with nostalgia. "It's been years, but I'll never stop believing they were soulmates," one user wrote, while another posted, "Maybe some love stories just need time to find their way back." But not everyone was cheering for a rekindling. Many fans, and especially those loyal to Gwen Stefani, voiced concern. "Blake's married now. People need to stop romanticizing the past," one comment read. Another fan added, "Miranda has moved on too. Let them both have peace." Then came the theories, and hundreds of them. Some claimed Taylor Swift's involvement meant she might write a song about the whole situation. Others speculated that the three might collaborate musically, interpreting Taylor's message as a creative bridge between them. One viral post read, "Taylor gave Blake and Miranda advice. But what if that's her next song? She's been in her closure era lately." Even media outlets joined the frenzy, publishing headlines like, "Taylor Swift steps in as peacemaker between country royalty," and "Blake and Miranda's reunion, a love rekindled or a lesson learned." Yet amid all the noise, those closest to the situation painted a different picture. Insiders confirmed there was no romantic reconciliation, only two people confronting their past, guided by one friend's honest wisdom. Taylor's message wasn't about reigniting old flames. It was about extinguishing the pain that came with them. Interestingly, the situation created a cultural shift in how fans viewed closure. Social media discussions began focusing less on reunion fantasies and more on emotional maturity. One popular tweet summed it up best. "Sometimes closure isn't about getting back together. It's about forgiving, learning, and moving forward, even when love still echoes." In a world obsessed with drama, this story took an unexpected turn, one grounded in growth, healing, and quiet strength. But the question everyone kept asking was, did Taylor Swift's message truly change how Blake and Miranda saw each other? The answer came just weeks later, in a way no one saw coming. In the weeks following that emotional Nashville encounter, both Blake Shelton and Miranda Lambert seemed to move differently. Not dramatically, but subtly, as if a quiet weight had been lifted. Blake, who's usually open and light-hearted in interviews, suddenly spoke with more reflection. During a radio chat, he mentioned, "Sometimes the hardest conversations are the ones you didn't know you needed. But when they happen, it's freeing." He didn't name Miranda or Taylor, but fans immediately connected the dots. Online communities buzzed with speculation, believing his words were a nod to that fateful night, and perhaps to Taylor Swift's unexpected intervention. Miranda, on the other hand, didn't speak publicly about the encounter at all, but her actions said plenty. She began teasing a new project, a deeply personal acoustic album, one that, according to close sources, explores themes of forgiveness, growth, and letting go. Those who've heard snippets say it's some of her most emotional work in years. Behind the scenes, both seemed to find their own peace. Blake continued building his life with Gwen Stefani, often praising her in interviews for being his safe place in the chaos. Meanwhile, Miranda appeared more grounded, focusing on her craft, her foundation work, and her love for songwriting. The bitterness that once shadowed their split had finally begun to fade, and then came the quiet twist, one that no one saw coming. A leaked report suggested that Taylor Swift had privately invited both artists to a collaborative writing retreat. While no one could confirm it, insiders whispered that the invite wasn't about publicity. It was about healing through creativity. One insider put it simply, Taylor's always believed music heals what words can't. She didn't want them to relive the past. She wanted them to transform it. Whether or not that session ever took place remains a mystery. But soon after, fans noticed something strange. Subtle lyrical connections between Taylor's new tracks and both Blake and Miranda's unreleased works. Some say that was coincidence. Others call it proof that healing really did happen, just off stage. One thing's for sure, whatever Taylor said, it worked. The tension was gone. The online feuds died down. For the first time in nearly a decade, both Blake and Miranda seemed at peace with their story and with each other. But what exactly did Taylor Swift say that night? The words that changed everything. Those closest to her revealed one final detail. Before parting ways, Taylor reportedly told them this: "Closure isn't something you find in each other. It's something you build within yourself. And when you finally do, you stop hurting when their name comes up." And just like that, the chapter that once defined heartbreak in Nashville quietly ended, not with headlines, but with healing. When the story first broke, no one expected it to end this way. Fans were bracing for rekindled romance rumors, jealous headlines, and endless drama. But instead, what unfolded was something far more meaningful, a rare moment of emotional honesty in a world obsessed with spectacle. Blake Shelton and Miranda Lambert didn't reunite for love. They reunited for closure. And it took someone like Taylor Swift, an artist who has lived through her own heartbreaks under the brightest of spotlights, to remind them what that really means. In an industry where emotions often turn into lyrics and pain becomes performance, this moment was refreshingly human. It wasn't about fame or forgiveness for show. It was about letting go of years of weight neither of them realized they were still carrying. Taylor's message echoed a truth many fans could relate to. That closure doesn't always come wrapped in apologies or second chances. Sometimes it's a quiet understanding, a look across the room that says we survived that and we're better now. In the weeks that followed, Nashville insiders described a subtle shift. Not in gossip or headlines, but in tone. Artists began opening up more about healing, forgiveness, and finding peace. It was as if that single encounter, those few words shared between three of country music's biggest names, had rippled through the entire scene. And for fans watching from afar, it was a reminder that even the biggest stars feel heartbreak, regret, and relief just like anyone else. That sometimes the most powerful love stories aren't the ones that last. They're the ones that teach you how to move on. As Taylor herself once wrote, "The story isn't sad when it's over. It's sad when it's unfinished." For Blake and Miranda, that story finally found its ending. And maybe, just maybe, that's the kind of happy ending we all need to see.